Hello, everyone. It's been a little bit longer than you're expecting, so thank you for joining me today. Hail and welcome to this episode of Midgard Musings. As always, I'm your host, Jesse, and sorry for missing last week's episode. Our normally scheduled video last week had to be canceled due to some personal issues I was dealing with within my own home. And so, of course, everything personal comes first, family comes first, and you got to take care of things sometimes. So I'm back, and I want to thank everyone for being patient and joining me today and understanding those things. So, all right, so Demetrius is joining. Hail, Demetrius, thank you for checking in today. You guys are going to see up in the title of the video, you're going to see some links. And before we get into the reading of the Hávamál today, I have something special I want to do for a friend of mine. First of all, you'll see the link to the Midgard Musings YouTube channel, which, as always, I would greatly appreciate your support in the form of a subscription. Pushing for the 500 subscribers by Yule milestone. We're at 417 subscribers now, and it's only July. So I feel like that can definitely happen if everyone just shares the channel, shares these videos, tags their friends, invites their friends to check it out. We'd really appreciate that. The second link that you will see would be a video to a song by a band that a friend of mine is in. And the reason why we're talking about this right now is because this friend of mine, his name is Wayne. If anybody's been watching Midgard Musings for any length of time, you may remember a video I did a couple of months ago at least, where I did a rune draw for my friend Wayne. And he's in a band called Oculum Dei, based out of North Carolina in the United States. And they are a black metal band, American black metal, very brutal, very harsh, very just, if that's your kind of thing. And Wayne has been very, very supportive of Midgard Musings and of this page and of this channel. And he was very kind enough, him and his bandmates were very kind enough to send my wife and I some merchandise, along with this t-shirt, which says their band logo. It says Oculum Dei on it. And then on the back, it's got big red letters going down the back, and this really cool old Gothic font says American Black Metal. In addition to those two shirts that he sent us, we've also got a couple of patches and some stickers. And so he wouldn't accept any sort of compensation, and just said, hey, if you wouldn't mind, just kind of plug the band or whatever. And of course, I was more than happy. This is, you don't receive a gift without giving one in return. So I'm inviting everybody to please check out Wayne's band. The title of the song is "Blinded by Gods." It's kind of cool. It's a really, really epic song. Follow the link. For those that are watching YouTube, just check the card that I've just dropped up here in the top of the screen, and also check the description of the video, because in the description of the video you will find the Facebook page link for Oculum Dei. You'll find the YouTube channel link for Oculum Dei, and where you can check out this song. So please give them a follow and a like on Facebook, and give them a subscribe. Give them your subscription here on YouTube as well. Would really appreciate that if you would check them out. Really, really awesome stuff here. Thank you so much, Wayne, for sending these shirts to my wife and I. Really appreciate your kindness. All right, guys, so here we are. We are getting close to the end of the Hávamál. Today we are going to be reading stanzas 127 through 135. And before we do that, let me go ahead and get this candle lit, my incense lit, and beer poured. So I hope everyone's been having a great last week or so. Like I said, had some things that I was dealing with my family that I had to tend to, and things are getting better on that front, and I'm here now to continue on talking with everybody. All right. Now I don't remember what the aroma is of the incense that I'm burning. I want to say it's dragon's blood or something like that. It's got a really fruity thing going on in the aromas, the aromatic things going on in there. So it's really, really nice. And now, as always, the one and only delicious Stalk toasted porter, Icelandic toasted porter. One of my absolute favorites. I have had this other flavor, Wee Heavy, it's called. It's a Stalk beer as well, and it's kind of an amber ale. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining. Here's the pour. I will toast to you all here in just a moment. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for being patient with me. All right. I'm really excited about getting into the stanzas this week because there's some really important stuff for me personally that's come up that these stanzas help me deal. You know, the lessons that the stanzas bring out help with what I'm going through. So, anyways, once again, everyone, cheers. Hail and Skull. Thank you for supporting Midgard Musings. All right. Okay. If you're watching live on Facebook now, just give me a thumbs up or something here that you're watching. Would love to know that you're there, and appreciate you tuning in and taking out the time to watch today. As always, I do read the Hávamál from the Poetic Edda that's translated and by Dr. Jackson Crawford. It's a really very easily readable version of the Poetic Edda and the Hávamál contained. So we have Topher, Mr. Topher, hello, and hail my friends. Everyone, Topher's watching here, and he is the reason why I have this really awesome Midgard Musings logo coaster that he handmade. Burned the runes into it, and then we've got Otharir burned in runes on the back. Really kind and appreciative of him. So, hail to you, Topher. And hail to the Osseter community. Guys, I don't talk about them nearly enough. I'm partners with the Osseter community on Facebook. If you're a lone heathen, or if you're a heathen looking to expand your knowledge and just become more familiar with the path that you're following, the Osseter community is a wonderful community to become a part of. So I'll be sure to leave the links for them in the description of the video as well. But here we are now. We're starting stanza 127. Probably one of the most important stanzas that, as heathens, we reflect on very regularly. At least I do. I know I do. So starting it off, it says, "I counsel you, Lodfafnir, if you'll take my advice, you'll profit if you learn it. It'll do you good if you remember it. When you are at war, call it war, and give your enemies no peace." Now, before I go much further, this is a stanza that Declaration 127 is founded off of. If you're not familiar with Declaration 127, all you have to do is Google it, and you will see exactly what I'm talking about. It's basically it basically means that if you see wrong being done, you count that wrong as your own, and you give your enemies no quarter. You don't just let things slide. You don't just let things go by and unaddressed, right? If there's a wrong being done, we're supposed to stand up for that and against that, I should say. And it has a lot to do with fighting against, racism and bigotry that seems to, unfortunately, be attached in this heathen path, because we see a lot of, racist and intolerant things when it comes to our runes and when it comes to the symbols, symbols like Mjolnir, symbols like Othala, symbols like Tiwaz, things that are being perverted by racist factions and things that we just should not stand for. So you'll see, if you look up Declaration 127, you'll see that it's based off of what Hávamál 127 says, which is that if you are at war, you call it such, you count it as a wrong that's being done to you, that you are at war, you give your enemies no quarter and no peace. So stanza 128 is, "I counsel you, Lodfafnir, if you'll take my advice, you'll profit if you learn it. It'll do you good if you remember it. Never be glad to hear bad news, but be cheerful about good news." Hello, Taylor. Taylor is a young heathen. Forget exactly where you are, Taylor. He's, I think, Indiana or Illinois, or one of them Midwestern states. Thank you so much for tuning in. I see your comment there. I'll check it in here in just a minute, but thank you for commenting and tuning in today. But yeah, guys, don't be glad to hear bad news, but be cheerful about good news. I feel like that's kind of one of those things where, bad news, it may not be bad for you, and you may feel like, that news that comes is maybe warranted or deserved. Somebody's getting what they deserve. There's karma that's kind of been met with somebody. But if it's bad news, just kind of, I feel like that's kind of one of those things where you don't want to really dwell on it too much. You want to be glad about the good things that are happening, and then just look, if it's bad, then, you know, just kind of take it as such. Don't really be cheerful about it, and don't revel in it, I guess you could say. That's what I'm taking. And as always, please leave your comments down below with what you think these stanzas are saying, or if I may be misinterpreting it or misunderstanding it. I'm always eager to hear what your understanding is on each of these stanzas. Stanza 129 is, I counsel you, Lodfafnir, if you'll take my advice, you'll profit if you learn it. It'll do you good if you remember it. You should never look up when you're in a fight. Men who do so may get turned to stone. Beware, or someone may curse you. I don't know, so I guess this to me is kind of, you know, keep your head down. Don't be so confident when you're in battle that you think the battle's won before it's over, because you can catch something that caught you off guard because you were too confident, too, you know, cocky, if you will. You know, so those old boxers, you know, back in the day, it was keep your head down, chin to your shoulder. You know what I mean? You don't keep your head up, and you don't think the battle is won before it's over with. Don't count your eggs before they hatch. Don't count your victories before they are won. Keep your head down, otherwise you might catch something that's gonna totally ruin you. Stanza 130 is, I counsel you, Lodfafnir, if you'll take my advice, you'll profit if you learn it. It'll do you good if you remember it. If you want to win a good woman, speak cheerfully with her and enjoy it while you do. Make promises to her and keep your promises. You'll never regret winning such a prize. All right, so, you know, here's some more practical love or relationship advice that the All-Father is given to Lodfafnir. And this is if you're trying to woo or win someone of quality, you know, a good woman. This could be a woman trying to win a good man. It could go either way nowadays. You know, this is coming from a time and in a culture and a society where it was, you know, the normal process for men to court women and to go after them in such a way. And, you know, so we're hearing it from that perspective. But you know, speak cheerfully, you know, have good things to say. You know, keep your promises. Whatever you say you're going to do, don't give empty promises. You know, don't say something and then do another, or say something that you're going to do something and then not do it. Keep all those things in mind and follow those practices. You will acquire something that you cannot possibly put a value on, and you won't ever regret winning such a prize. 131 is, I counsel you, Lodfafnir, if you'll take my advice, you'll profit if you learn it. It'll do you good if you remember it. I advise you to be wary, though never fearful. Be most wary about drinking, about other men's women, and about a third thing, about men and their temptation to steal. All right, guys, so this is something that, for some of the occurrences of my life in the past week or so, one of the reasons why I wasn't streaming live here last week, where Odin says to be wary most about drinking. It's a vice that many people battle, and although it's not something that I technically battle with, it has been something that, because of my overindulgence in it, has caused some problems in my personal life. So reading this and reflecting on this has been something that really, really felt timely and felt like it was being brought to me at a very important and pivotal time to me. You know, there's nothing wrong with being wary of things, and there's nothing wrong with being, you know, have your guard up. It's just to not be fearful and to not let those things overrule or ruin you, you know. But you want to be careful about the quantity of your drinking. You want to be careful about other men's women, whether they're, you know, they're committed to somebody else. You don't engage them in inappropriate ways, and don't allow yourself to be engaged in them in inappropriate ways, because it can go both ways. You know, there can be times when one side or the other are the guilty party of initiating inappropriate exchanges. It's not something that you want to be involved in. And then also the thing about men and their temptation to steal. All of these things can be compounded, especially when there's alcohol involved, when there's drinking involved. People tend to lose, sight of their sense I've experienced that very recently. Losing the ability to remember the wrongs that you've done because of your excessive consumption of alcohol. Your memory is impaired. So I find it interesting that the very first thing that Odin advises to be most wary about is drinking. We hear it a lot in Hávamál, but here we are again towards the end, and we're hearing it. So 132 is counsel you, Lodfafnir, if you'll take my advice, you'll profit if you learn it. It'll do you good if you remember it. Never mock, never laugh at a guest, nor a wanderer. I'm going to read 133 because it kind of fills the gaps that 132 leaves off in, is that those inside the house rarely know anything about the stranger who knocks at their door. But there is no man so good that has no flaw, nor a man so bad that he's good for nothing. So guys, we don't want to find ourselves laughing or mocking at those who are wandering for whatever reason, or that are strangers or guests. Sometimes they may have a look about them that's less than savory. They may look a bit disheveled. They may have, a certain way about them. We don't want to judge them. We don't want to draw a conclusion about them because we don't know. The guest rarely knows anything about the stranger who knocks at their door, right? They've come to us for whatever fate has decided for them to come into our lives at that point. It's not up to us to decide anything about them. Still be wary, use your caution and use your judgment and sense, but don't mock them, or don't put them down for being in a situation that we don't know why they're there. Because again, we are never so good that we don't have flaws, but we're also never so bad that we're not good for anything. And I feel like that's a good thing to be reminded of, guys, because some of us can get too depressed about ourselves, and we can be too hard on ourselves that we're so bad because we've done this in our lives. We're so bad because this has happened. We've allowed this to happen. We've contributed to this or that. All these things that our lives can build up, and we can feel like we're useless. We're not. We're never so bad that we're good for nothing. So I feel like that's a good balance to understand, is that we're never so good that we're not flawless, right? We always have things that we need to work on as our individual vices and things, but we're never so bad that we're good for nothing. So keep that in mind. Stanza 134 is, I counsel you, Lodfafnir, if you'll take my advice, you'll profit if you learn it. It'll do you good if you remember it. Never laugh at an old man. There is often wisdom in what old men say. Wise words will often come from a gray-bearded mouth, from those who hang with dried skins, from those who swing with dead skins, those who wave with dead skins. And guys, I feel like this is something that has been lost in today's generation, if you will. There is no respect for the elder among the younger generation. I'm talking people who are probably born in the early 2000s and on. That sense of honor, that sense of respect for your elders has not been brought and taught to the younger generation, mainly because I feel that you have people that are too young trying to teach the young. But, it's not like it was before, where you had people that kind of got seasoned and grew up and actually lived their adult years before they had offspring. Now you have kids having kids. And so they don't have that sense of respect and honor for their elder. I was raised that way. I was raised to, when the elders walked into the room, you stood up and gave them the seat. If there was even if there were other seats available, you gave up your seat for the elder that walked in. You listened to what the elder had to say because of the wisdom that was in their gray beards and in their gray faces and in their, as it says, dried skin. Because if you hang with dried skins, okay, if you're in the same company as dried skins, and if you swing with dried skins, which is that if you have the same engagement or the same motion, if you flow and if you follow life with the same dried skins, and if you wave with dried skins, if you have the same engagements with this crowd, you will pick up on things, words of wisdom. Listen to them, guys. Listen to what the elderly have to say. So the final stanza for the day is stanza 135, and it says, I counsel you, Lodfafnir, if you'll take my advice, you'll profit if you learn it. It'll do you good if you remember it. Never spite a guest, nor be stingy with your food. Treat a poor wanderer well. The next stanza does kind of fit into this one, but we're going to leave that for next week. We'll recap on this first, on stanza 135 before we go into stanza 136. But it is, guys, it's important to treat your guests well. And I've often, especially lately, been reminded by my own wife, when we have guests over, is to make sure that there's food and drink and stuff for the person, whether they accept the hospitality or not, whether they accept what you offer them or not, is to make sure that there's plenty there for them and to not be stingy about it. Don't just be like, well, here's one drink, and then here's one piece of bread, or here's one plate of food, or whatever. No, make sure that they don't leave hungry. Make sure that they don't leave thirsty. And of course, a lot of the people that come over to my hall are people that I know and friends and acquaintances that I've established relationships with. But this is talking about guests and wanderers who you may not know. And it was important back in the day to, in the time when Hávamál was written and in the culture that this is surrounding, that it was important to treat your guests well, and because it was about survival. They could have been traveling for who knows how long, and they need their sustenance to be able to travel again further. So very important lessons, I think, today, guys, at least from these 9 stanzas that we covered. They definitely hit a chord for me and some things that were going on with me in the last week or so. And I once again just want to thank everyone for joining me today. I'm going to, when I get signed off of the live feed here, I am definitely going to check back with the comments and reply to them. So I want to thank you all for commenting today. I want to thank you all for watching today. I want to thank you all for supporting Midgard Musings, because this definitely is something that I do for not just myself, but for the better good and for the greater good of our heathen community. I want to give back in some way to everyone out here who is trying to follow the path in their own way. So definitely, please, like I said earlier in the video, check out the Oculum Day links that are in the title of this video. For those that are watching on YouTube, check out the description of this video for Oculum Day. Check out their song, Blinded by Gods, and support them in any way that you can if that's something that you want. Thank you once again, Wayne and Oculum Day, for sending this awesome merchandise our way here in Tennessee. Best of luck to all of you. Hails. I hope everything goes well in the music ventures that you're doing. And thank you all again, once again, everyone, for checking out Midgard Musings this week. In case you're wondering, the future live feeds will be continued on Sundays, but we will now be broadcasting at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time instead of 3 o'clock. This works out better for me and my schedule, and hopefully it does work out better for everybody else too. Instead of it being kind of in the middle of the afternoon when you may be out doing things, hopefully this allows more of an audience to join me on the live feed. So thank you all for your comments today. Thank you all for sharing the videos. Subscribe to Midgard Musings on YouTube. Let's get to 500 subscribers, by I don't know, let's do it in the next month or so. We've got like 80 some odd or less subscribers to go. If you just share and tag a friend and they go and subscribe and they do the same thing, we'll be done in no time, and then we'll be on to the first 1,000 subscribers, which will be amazing. So hail to every single one of you. I appreciate your constant support. I will see you all again in next week's video as we continue discussing Hávamál. Thank you all once again. Hail and Skull.